Today's networks are changing fast, and employees, devices, and infrastructures are more distributed than ever. Gigamon Threat Insight is a cloud-native, high-velocity network detection and response solution that's purpose-built to enable you to get in front of this transformation. Discover hidden network threats, automate security investigations, and optimize security workflows to stay a step ahead of attackers with Gigamon Threat Insight. Learn more at securityweekly.com/Gigamon. Do you worry about ransomware, data breaches, reputation damage, especially from phishing attacks, on employees working from home? The facts are, top cloud security tools have a 15% failure rate. 51% of phishing is social media based. Pixum knows because Pixum detects and stops breaches at point of click. Pixum's AI real-time solution detects actual fraud happening in a browser and stops it. Know your real security gaps. Get a phishing actualization test free at securityweekly.com/Pixum. That's PIXM. Wide-scale adoption of cloud applications, an increase in remote workers, and expansion of branch offices has rendered the centralized, on-premises security model impractical. Enter Cisco Umbrella. Umbrella now includes secure web gateway, firewall, and cloud access security broker functionality, plus integration with Cisco SD-WAN, all delivered from a single cloud security service. It helps businesses of all sizes secure their network and extend protection to roaming users and branch offices. Security doesn't have to be complicated. Get simple, smart, and powerful security with Cisco Umbrella. Visit securityweekly.com/Cisco Umbrella to learn more. Welcome back, everyone, to Enterprise Security Weekly. We're happy to announce we'll be at InfoSec World 2021 in person on October 25th through the 27th. Our partnership with InfoSec World is special because we're both part of the Cyber Risk Alliance. Security Weekly listeners and InfoSec World attendees will get to see and hear from many of us at the Security Weekly team, and our listeners save 20% off your World Pass. You can go to securityweekly.com/ISW 2021, register using our discount code. Also, the other conference we'll be hosting is our very own Security Weekly Unlocked in person December 5th through the 8th at Hilton Lake Buena Vista. Call for presentations. Deadline has been extended through July 23rd. So we're hoping to hear from many more of you in the community with your ideas for talks. You can visit securityweekly.com/unlocked, submit your presentation, and register for early bird discounts. The enterprise security news. Couple of acquisitions and funding rounds I think we should kick off with. I'm particularly excited about your story number 10, Adrian. Sophos has acquired Capsulate.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
I'm kind of excited because I'm hoping I can get a license now, because I may or may not know someone that uses Sophos. Yeah. I think the Capsulate stuff is really, really awesome. They were a sponsor for a while. I spent a lot of time with the team. And for protecting Linux systems, they are true ninjas, first and foremost, and have a really cool product. So if I had to pick something to help protect my Linux systems, it would be that.
Yeah, Linux systems are different. We needed a different approach to how endpoint security would work for those kinds of devices, especially ones that are, primarily running as servers, as cloud instances and things like that. Being deployed using, DevOps processes.
Like next year is going to be the year of the Linux desktop. So
I thought it was this year, Paul.
It's this year too. Yeah, it's every year is going to be the year of the Linux desktop. So.
And add to that, that tech team over there that built that was pretty amazing. Brendan Edwards, chief scientist, and
Brandon's awesome.
Dino Izovi was there for a while, and of course John's no slouch, right? John Viega's no slouch when it comes to technical background and capabilities. So of course that product was going to be a rock star tech product.
Yeah, and the rabbit hole with Linux security goes really deep too, and I do want to deploy that product in my environment, and I also want something really good. I don't know how much vulnerability management I need as much as I just want to be able to patch all my Linux systems easily. It'd be interesting if Sophos now with Capsulate could acquire, or maybe they already have some way to patch your Linux systems too and roll that into one solution.
Yeah, that's interesting too. The actual target of who picked them up is really interesting because it really plays into that cloud workload protection offering that Trend Micro, I think, is on. Sophos is on. Mm-hmm. A number of them are really pushing on that holistic in workload security stack.
Yeah.
And so this is going to bolster the Linux version of that for Sophos for sure.
It's cool. RiskIQ got picked up by Microsoft. That was another big news item as well.
I love the actual wording of this announcement for greater than 500 million.
Yeah, so it's kind of like
501 million or a billion. Like, what are we talking about?
Somewhere in that range.
Yeah, most of our funding announcements are press releases, but this one is a rumor. That got out.
Oh, okay.
Which,
so this is a rumor. Okay, good to know.
Well, and I think Microsoft. Yeah, I think Microsoft has officially validated that yes, the sale is going on. But I think the rumor part is how much. And I've heard maybe as high as $1 billion. But yeah, certainly, between 500 million and $1 billion is going to be, really good return for RiskIQ, which has actually been around for a while.
It has,
It's almost hard to call them a startup. I think they were founded in 2008, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 8-9 timeframe for sure, and that return would be, 500 from a 2008-2009 is okay, but if we're starting to push the one bill number, that's a really, really healthy return for them. And the rumor, I think, on that started on a Sunday, because I remember seeing it in my newsfeed at like 2 a.m. Sunday morning, and just thinking, oh, this is going to be a fun week.
Did we? Stupid question. Did we test RiskIQ?
We did. And we wrote it up. Yeah, and it's
so you can find that at securityweekly.com/reviews.
Yes, you can.
Little plug
and they're hanging their hat on attack surface management, which is actually something they only recently got into. The RiskIQ, I think everybody knows really well, is their huge database of asset, internet-facing asset information, and passive total. So they've had a community edition of passive total forever, and it's one of my favorite research tools.
Yeah, I integrate passive total when I use a lot of open source tools. It's one of the first ones. I plop my API key in there, and it gives awesome results.
Everybody does that with every product.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely one of the most integrated tools out there.
And I want to say RiskIQ was also pretty heavy on getting like dark web information into their attack surface monitoring platform as well, right? They partner largely, I want to say.
I don't know about dark web, but definitely their focus in the past has been discovering attack infrastructure before it gets used against you, know, and helping you. They would actually assist you with takedowns and stuff like that. So that was
Microsoft's big on that too. So that might have been a good reason why they wanted to acquire them.
Yeah, I'll be sad if the community edition of Passive Total goes away, though, if anybody's listening.
You hope that Microsoft keeps these community editions, right? Keeps things the way they are when they're structured that way, right? GitHub, I think GitHub being one of them. We've already seen some kind of shady stuff there, but
I think when they're structured that way, where you've kind of got a free tier, freemium tier, in addition to an enterprise level product. I would expect them to roll that free or some components of that free into like the GitHub security based model and start to kind of roll those free tier things together. Would be a pretty fantastic strategic play, but you never know. You never know what they're actually going to do.
It's a cool one. Let's see what else we got in terms of funding and acquisitions.
Yeah, I actually threw some tools in here as well. I usually don't have a bunch of tools in here, but one that's kind of cracked me up is CISA has this CSET tool. It's the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. We talk about a lot. CISA. They have this cybersecurity evaluation tool, and they added a module to it as a self-assessment for ransomware. For your risk to ransomware, and just for the heck of it, and we were talking about client isolation in the previous conversation. What this thing actually does, the installer looks like it was built for Windows XP, and Windows Smart Screen actually blocks it, and you have to jump through some hoops to even get the installer to run. And then it installs Microsoft SQL Server 2012 and IIS 11. And stands up a web server on your local host, and all it is a questionnaire. It's a 1 gig download, and this easily could have just been a SaaS,
website.
or like this thing should be 5 megabytes, 10 megabytes compressed. But yeah, I don't know who's building this thing, but it's from another age.
That's kind of wonky.
Yeah.
I did have, this one was interesting. A leaked email shows Tanium has lost its 4th chief marketing officer in 5 years. Is that even, I mean, is that new? What do you guys think?
I'd like to hear Tyler's opinion on that.
I knew you were going to kick it right to me, man. It's I'm actually trying to bring the story up. There's a wonderful, I don't know if we were talking about it live or before the call, but there's a wonderful little paywall in front of that.
Yeah.
So I can't get to the whole story. I think it's interesting in cybersecurity startups as a CMO, and I'm a CMO at a cybersecurity startup. I think you come into every cybersecurity startup with a bullseye on your back. And if you get lucky enough to hit the cybersecurity startup that is the J-curve, exponential growth, insane, like everybody's all over it type of thing, you stay in there a long time, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't know this because I can't see the article, but I'm curious for you guys that read it, did the first CMO stay the big bulk of it and now they're trying to find a replacement? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, I don't know, because it's behind a paywall.
Yeah.
I was just going off the headline.
Yeah, I think the net is, CMOs are the whipping boys of most of these companies, and unless you hit that perfect growth J curve, you're the first one to bounce because everybody can do marketing, right? That's kind of the running thing, is everyone can do marketing. So, I'm not surprised that they're bouncing here and there, and that the culture inside of Tanium,
mm-hmm.
Rumor has it that the culture is not the best culture I've ever heard or seen. So, I'm actually not surprised in any way.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think culture plays into it because we have heard lots of rumors, about what things are like inside of Tanium.
Yeah.
And I think if your attitude is anybody can do marketing, you probably don't have good marketing.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why the 90% of cybersecurity startups have crappy marketing.
Yeah. There's this kind of standard checklist, and the thing about it is when you're following that checklist, it's immediately apparent. Like you go to a website, within 5 seconds, if it's checklist marketing, if they're just following that, doing what everybody else is doing, which most of which doesn't get you good leads, doesn't educate your potential clients. None of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah. Marketing's hard.
No, I thought it was easy and anyone could do it.
Only cybersecurity marketing is easy.
There you go. Bandura has released Cyber Intelligence Marketplace, which I haven't talked about Bandura in a while. I hadn't seen them in a headline in a while. They have that pretty awesome threat intelligence platform. I don't know why this link all of a sudden is going to an RFC 1918 address. I was having trouble with this link earlier. Did you see that?
Yikes.
Yep, I see it, 10.51, yep.
What are you trying to do to me, Paul?
I know, right?
He's web phishing us, Adrian, because I already clicked on it too. I'm in trouble.
Yeah, I just I Googled the title of it and I found it on HelpNet Security.
Yeah, and so I knew Bandura already had this, right? So you can pull from multiple different threat intelligence sources, and it'll aggregate those for you. But now they've turned into a more structured marketplace, it sounds like. So 50 data listings, so domain tools, Proofpoint, open source lists. So the new marketplace also includes cyber intelligence data from 5 new premium sources: Cyjax, Intel 471, Malware Patrol, and well-fed threat intelligence from Bambanek Labs.
Yeah, to me this is super interesting because if we think about the concept of threat intelligence in general, everybody's got like 5-6 different threat intel feeds, like the biggest enterprises, of course, not the little guys, but the biggest enterprises take 3, 4, 5 intel feeds, bring it into a SOC, a SIM, spend time deduping, cleaning, and applying to their own results. If the bulk of that work can be done externally and you can just flip on the 5, 6, 7 services you want, I think it's a really interesting abstraction to that space.
Yeah, that's actually exactly what Bandura does.
Yeah, it's a really cool idea conceptually to simplify that, because otherwise, that's just a headache of kind of mundane weightlifting for the SOC analyst team.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, this is it's highly commoditized. None of these individual lists are hugely valuable. So you don't want to spend a whole lot of time on integrating that stuff in your tooling. It should be as easy as clicking a checkbox.
Let's see. Arctic Wolf triples valuation to $4.3 billion after taking another $150 million round.
Wow.
Didn't we just talk about them taking a round?
Does that make them the biggest MSSP out there? I'm not sure. I'm not sure SecureWorks' valuation is that high.
So I can never remember the current state of SecureWorks. Are they independent or still within a subsidiary of somebody else or PE owned?
No, I think they're public. They got spun out and went public again, or for the first time.
This is a big one.
Are they based in Canada? I don't remember now.
No, I thought they were up in New England, in your neck of the woods. Arctic Wolf.
I
thought they were Boston based.
Because wouldn't Harshevek Group be?
Yeah, they're Canadian.
They're Canadian,
but yeah, they're pretty huge. They're right.
Huge, right? Interesting.
I don't have any numbers on them. I don't know how huge they are.
This is pretty amazing. The Arctic Wolf article: 438% year-over-year annual recurring revenue growth.
Wow.
3,000 customers in North America, 900 employees to date. On a 4.5.
I'm way off. They're based in Arctic Wolf is based in Minnesota.
Minnesota, yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. That growth rate is phenomenal. No wonder they're getting that insane multiple.
People are just lining up to give them cash with numbers like that. You just say over 400% year-to-year growth. They can go get cash from anywhere.
They were kicking hard at the door.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like they're on small numbers either.
Mm.
That is a Series F, though.
Wow.
So they're in deep.
Well, when you're and they're a services company, right? They have products but it's wrapped in a service, right? From what I understand from Arctic Wolf.
Yeah. But speaking about in deep, Netskope raised $300 million that they said they didn't really need at a valuation of $7.5 billion.
Wow. I thought Netskope was filed for IPO.
Yeah, so they did mention that the CEO was interviewed and said they're not really in a rush. They're pretty good on money. It's good to have extra money in the coffers, so they took this round. But they're pretty stable, doing pretty good, and didn't need to rush to IPO. So I guess that's a good sign. But it's interesting. Like my experiences with Netskope had always been really positive. And when I was back at 451, CASB kind of became my shtick because it was just emerging when I joined 451. And, I was one of the only analysts focusing on it, early on. So I really dug into it and covered that whole market closely, which one of the quickest markets I've ever seen go from, coming out of stealth to acquisition, like easily three quarters, if not more of the market, emerged and was acquired in under 4 years. Mm. And Netskope was one of the few that hung on. And I've been wondering what was going to happen to them. But they're definitely the nice guys of the group. It was them and Sky High Networks, and Sky High was kind of the more traditional, cringy Glassdoor reviews, stuff you'd hear about internal culture and stuff like that. They get acquired by McAfee, and it's part of McAfee's SASE offering now. But yeah, no, I'm glad to see it because Netskope, they were always great to work with, very kind people, and glad to see them doing well with at least from my perspective as an industry analyst, much more positive internal company culture.
Yeah, and I think along those lines, Versec has raised $100 million, which I was happy to see as well because they're a great company to work with. They've got some really cool products, kind of like EDR but on the server side.
I was going to ask about that. they sounded kind of like RASP to me, because it sounded like there was a web app component of it. So I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, I think they compete with Capsulate on the Linux side. There might be more. It's like Capsulate, but I think it's multiple platforms.
Well, I can tell you for sure because I'm an advisor there.
Oh.
So they started out as a RASP, then extended into memory protection, file detection protection, web protection. So they're kind of a full stack inside the workload. So you can really view it as like a CWPP stack in some ways, cloud workload protection platform stack, from within the application. It's a pretty strong approach. And so they can do it on individual hosts. They can do it in workloads. They can do it in the cloud. It's a broad offering.
Oh, cool. Yeah, they've expanded since I last spoke with them. They were a sponsor for a little while.
That product's done very well over the last couple of years. They've diversified the product portfolio, and the revenue growth and company growth is going through the roof. They just brought on John Chambers, former CEO of Cisco.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's come on as advisor and investor in the company, and they just got Jen Leggio as CMO. So
nice.
They're up and running with some really cool people and good products.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. What else we got? We want to talk about EDR, Adrian's favorite topic lately.
Do we have to?
All right, we can skip it if you want.
I'm joking.
The Bitdefender launches an extended EDR platform.
So why isn't this just called XDR? Why? Yeah, so they're calling it XEDR.
And the X is capital, so they want to be XDR, but they don't want to use the marketing buzzword because they've heard Adrian talk about XDR, so they're calling it XEDR.
Are you trying to make it my fault? It's not my fault. I'm putting this on me. Can't put this on me.
I don't know. I really don't know.
You just live with their own marketing decisions.
I don't know. I come back to the quadrants or the triad where you need something like extra hop we just talked about, right? In the network space, you need something on the endpoint, you need some threat intelligence, and you need something that handles your logs, right? I mean, it's as simple as that, and there's lots of ways to accomplish all those things, and it's going to be different for every organization. I do think we're going to continue to see this consolidation, although we see a lot of new companies coming on the market and companies getting funding. So I think we're in a really good cycle. I mean, certainly this market is growing, the industry is growing, which is good. So
I think the last funding, big funding that we should probably talk about is Cyber Reason.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was a $275 million raise, Series E, brings their total funding to $664 million. And their valuation 2 years ago was $1 billion after a $200 million SoftBank raise. So they're this is Series E, and they're into this latest raise is from a private equity firm.
Yeah.
So they've left. They've got the escape velocity, I guess, to leave VC and go into PE land. So maybe IPOs next.
But I think that's good.
Acquisitions.
I want to see the good players emerge in the endpoint security space, and I think we've also seen a number of them become acquired, right?
Yeah.
And that's really, it's consolidation, but it's also some are on a trajectory to continue to grow, whether it's a private equity buyout or whether it's IPO. And then I think you see the other kind of, I don't want to say smaller ones, but other ones get acquired and integrated into something else. And that's where I think at one time we were as high as 40 plus different endpoint security products. And I think has it consolidated, Adrian, or is there more than that?
Over 100. Over 100. Yeah. Yeah. So that was also a space that I tracked, and I had detailed spreadsheet, like every feature, every category of every endpoint product, and we were well over 100. And it has consolidated. And kind of the new place that it expanded, is things like Versec,
right.
Into that cloud space where, and with Capsule 8, where you kind of see this divergent, change in idea of what an endpoint security product is, now protecting web workloads as well as the endpoint itself.
Yeah, It's cool stuff. I didn't have any other stories that were like I was itching to talk about.
I've got a couple more. I've got under my tools list here, ransomware, WHERE ransomware. Clever name. Here's a fun website that basically it's like a front end on cryptocurrency payments for ransom that's tied to attacker groups.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, there used to be a data breach website.
Mm-hmm.
What was that one called?
Dataloss.db?
Yes, DataLossDB. That's what this reminds me of. DB. This is the new DataLossDB, but focused on ransomware and not so much data breaches.
Exactly. I was actually involved with DataLossDB. I did the initial cleanup of that data set, before we spun it out into a separate website. It's ransomware where the RE on the end of it is .re.
So I have a question, Adrian, and maybe this is a stupid Tyler question, but is there any technical way to actually stop ransomware with any level of efficiency that'll be cost effective? Or is it just, hey, fix your security program across the board, do security right, and you won't have to worry about ransomware?
Well, really, it's not. We're not talking about ransomware. That's the problem. Like we say ransomware, but it's really more broadly, it's evolved into extortion. So maybe they've gotten access to your cloud, to a couple of your AWS accounts, and they've changed the credentials and invalidated the API keys and holding that for ransom. So there's so many ways to extort a company, take some of their assets, take control of some of their stuff, and ransom them for it. That a lot of these cases don't even necessarily need to involve any kind of malware, that's encrypting files these days.
Yeah,
so that is still the bulk of it.
Yeah, that's the question to me, because I feel like ransomware is the end deliverable of the attack.
Yeah,
right. And
it
stopping
is.
ransomware,
it's like step 17.
Right, following the dollar, tracking the crypto, getting that side of it I get from a ransomware response model. But now all these companies or people that are putting out technologies that claim to help you stop ransomware, is there any validity to that? And I just don't think there is. It's more about having a better security program across the board.
Yeah, because ransomware is the impact of the breach. It's not the breach.
Correct.
Right. And if you look at how ransomware occurs, it looks like every pen test I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like they send phishing, they run Mimikatz, they dump creds, they pivot to other systems, they position their malware, and they run it. It looks like every pen test report you've ever seen. And it's so absolutely there's opportunities to detect it and stop it. And I recall, I forget if it was in a Slack I'm in or on Twitter, but somebody posted, hey, are there any cases, any actual documented cases of somebody detecting a ransomware attack and stopping it? And I wasn't seeing any responses to that tweet. I'm sure it's happened, but and I'm sure it's possible.
Latest episode of Darknet Diaries, the local police department had a successful ransomware attack, and then the person he interviewed, who was a Secret Service agent, actually prevented it from happening the second time after some investigation. The second time. Yeah.
But if anybody listening has examples of those, I'd love to see it. We need some hope here because things are getting worse, not better. And I want to believe that some of these tools out there, because it really is. And
this wasn't a tools thing. I don't want to spoil the episode because I want you to go listen to it. But, it was more of a process thing that needed to be cleaned up as the primary, avenue. And when you hear what the process was, you'll be shocked. I think that was kind of the point of the interview, to be like, what?
And that's 100% the point of my question. Yeah. It feels almost like it's a process thing. And so this ransomware site, I actually love it because it's actually detailing the impact of it. It's not saying, hey, we fix it. There's just too much marketing fluff around that. And one other thing I'll bring up before we move on to another topic is inside our Discord, Michael actually just posted, how about just the option of nuclear retaliation against them? I think that would work well.
Yeah, it could.
That hack is still in the federal discussion. It's still a hot topic.
I don't think that's going to be a viable option for every attack. right? But I think in certain cases, certainly that
it might result in too much nuclear fallout.
Yeah. Well, maybe not maybe not nuclear attack, but I think a physical attack is on the table, but I think it's not going to be for everyone.
Leave it to Paul to take it to reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Tyler, to kind of directly address what you're asking, in all the postmortems that I've gone through on everything I can find, because it's kind of like a side hobby of mine. I want to understand, how it could have prevented, how it happened exactly. It's extremely rare you find a case where they didn't have everything they needed to stop the attack. It's almost always a process problem.
Yeah.
Where sure they detected it, but nobody saw it in time, and they weren't detecting the right things, or if they were, nobody laid eyes on it. And if they did lay eyes on it, they didn't recognize it for what it was, and they didn't do anything about it. So, and that's why I really heavily push training. Like people should be doing ransomware attack simulations, like ideally like weekly, like at least once a month, to see if they actually would detect this stuff and stop it, which is why I'm really bullish on breach and attack simulation technology.
Or maybe a security decision tree generator?
Yeah. So that really helps. And that was the last thing I wanted to talk about was Deciduous, inspired by Kelly Shortridge's book on security chaos engineering. It's a software developer. Looks like a neighbor of Kelly's, both in New York City. Ryan Petrick created this really simple attack tree mapping tool. And like you can be throwing trees together in 5 minutes, and by default, when you load the page, it's got an example that Kelly used in her book, and just really first glance, just clicking that link and looking at that decision tree, you can absolutely see why it's so useful. As it maps out, all the different steps an attack actually takes, and it starts to give you an idea of the kind of controls you need in place, the ability to detect, to actually stop some of these things from happening.
That's really cool. Well, thank you both for covering the news this week. Coming up next, interviews from RSA 2021, Deepika Gajaria and Scott Shefferman. Stick around.